Season of the Wish is here, and with that comes a bunch of builds that we're going to look at because there are a bunch of exotics that got changed. And of course, we're going to look at Hunters first because in my opinion, Hunters got the best changes across the board between all three classes, and we're going to start with Ophidia Spathe. Back in the day, Ophidia Spathe was not that great, and now it's actually just a little bit, maybe even a lot better, so I'm really excited to make this build. So of course, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more, as we're going to be making a ton of builds this season, and hopefully I'm going to be able to double down on content creation and really truck forward and try to do more videos so I can get more people here, and we can all just enjoy this community for as long as we're going to be able to. So with that, let us get started with this video. Now, like I mentioned just a second ago, we're going to be looking at the exotic Ophidia Spathe, which comes with the exotic trait Scissor Fingers. Gain a second knife per charge. Getting a final blow with a throwing knife grants consecutive knives a temporary stacking damage bonus. Gambler's Dodge refreshes the bonus timer. At the beginning of the season, it got the bonus damage for consecutive knife throws. Before that, the only thing this exotic did was give us that extra knife charge. The damage from this knife starts at 30% bonus with 1 stack, 60% with 2 stacks, and 100% bonus damage at 3 stacks, and they last for 5 seconds. Getting another knife defeat or using your Gambler's Dodge is going to fully refresh the timer and allow us to chain those high damage knife throws so we can take out adds or chunk larger bosses and even champions. As for weapons and trait combinations for this build, there are some very obvious choices to pick from. First obvious choice is Monte Carlo. This is an extremely nice weapon to have in any melee build, as it can recharge your melee, gets bonus damage when you do get a melee defeat, and has that sweet bayonet to do some very, very good damage. But I really didn't use it much, as I stuck with legendary weapons that use 2 particular traits. One of which is obviously a 1-2 punch shotgun. When we land all the pellets from a shot, our melee damage will be increased by 100%. This works with all knives except for the proximity knife, and it does stack with Ophidia Spathe stacking bonus damage. The other trait I really enjoyed pairing with this was Swashbuckler. When we get a defeat with this weapon, it will give us a stack up to 5, giving us a bonus to weapon damage. When we get a melee defeat, it will give us the max stacks immediately, which will give us a 33% bonus damage to our weapon. As for heavy, you can use whatever you want for this particular build. I ran Gallahorn because it was just an easy pick, but you can obviously use the new Dragon's Breath, you can use a linear, you can use a machine gun, you can use literally any heavy weapon you want with this particular build. For our class setup, we're going to start with Knock 'em Down. Your solar supers are enhanced. Deadshot Golden Gun has damage resistance, Marksman Golden Gun has increased duration, and Blade Barrage launches more projectiles, while Radiant final blows with your equipped throwing knife fully refund your melee energy. This aspect adds a lot to this build, first being the 3 fragment slots it gives us, so we can obviously add more fragments and really expand upon this build. It's going to make our supers better. I use Blade Barrage to keep the theme of throwing a ton of knives, and lastly, the most important part is that it is going to allow us to chain our knives with ease when we are Radiant, as when we defeat a target with a knife, we're going to get that charge back, and if that knife applies Scorch or causes an ignition and that defeats a target, it will also count and give us our melee energy back as well. For our second fragment, I took On Your Mark. Precision final blows grant you and nearby allies increased weapon handling and reload speed for a short duration. Stacks 3 times. Activating your class ability immediately grants maximum stacks of On Your Mark. This is nice, as it's going to give us some nice bonuses, and our allies are also going to get those nice bonuses, but you can easily swap this out for Gunpowder Gamble, so you can get that extra damage from that aspect. For our fragments, we're going to start with Ember of Torches. Powered melee attacks against combatants grant you and nearby allies Radiant with a -10 to our discipline. When we hit a target with one of our knives, we'll give ourselves and allies within 8 meters Radiant for 8 seconds. Radiant is going to give us a 25% bonus to weapon damage, which is super helpful alongside being able to get our knives back from Knock 'em Down. We're also going to take Ember of Searing. Defeating Scorch targets grants a melee energy and creates a fire sprite with a +10 to our recovery. The extra melee is super nice, even though we have many different ways to get our melee back. But the big thing here, and that is very helpful, is we're going to be able to spawn fire sprites so we can get restoration from Ember of Mercy. When you revive an ally, you and other nearby allies gain restoration. Picking up a fire sprite grants restoration with a +10 to our resilience. Even though restoration got a nerf at the beginning of the season, it is still very helpful with survivability, and we can chain it consistently to keep up health regen from picking up fire sprites and from Ember of Empyrean. Solar, weapon, or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to you with a -10 to our resilience. This is going to make it so we can stack both our radiant and restoration buff to the max of 12 seconds with ease, allowing us to keep that health regen and damage bonus we get up constantly. And finally, we have Ember of Singeing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. When we scorch a target, we're going to get a 300% recharge bonus to our class ability for 3 seconds, which is going to help a ton so we can get our dodge back faster, so we can keep our knife bonus longer, and obviously with Gambler's Dodge, we're going to get our knives back. And the cool thing is with Ophidia Spathe, anytime you would get one charge of your knife back, it will automatically give you both charges. So when you throw your knife, you dodge, you get both your knives back, which again is really helpful for keeping that chain up for that constant 100% damage from Scissor Fingers off of Ophidia Spathe. For armor mod, starting with our helmet, we have Harmonic Siphon, so our solar weapons can make orbs, and we have hands on, so all the knives we throw will give us our super back much faster. For arms, we have Heavy Handed, so we can make an orb from our melee every 10 seconds, and 2 stacks of Focusing Strike, so we can get some extra class ability energy back, making it easier to do the loop of dodging and throwing knives. For our chest, we just have Resist and Reserve mods, as I'm not doing anything crazy with armor charges for this particular build. There's no melee kickstart, there's no utility kickstart, nothing like that. For legs, we're going to use 3 solar weapon surge mods to push our damage even further. This will give us a 25% damage bonus from just these surge mods, which does stack with radiant, meaning we can do even more damage with any of our weapons, whether that be our energy weapon or even our heavy weapon. Finally, on our cloak, we have Reaper, so we can make orbs when we dodge every 10 seconds, Powerful Attraction, so we can pull orbs to us when we dodge, and Bomber, just so we can show a little love to our grenade, as this is a very melee focused build, and our grenade can also be very helpful depending on which one you run. I ran Incendiary because I like spreading extra scorch, but of course if you want to run healing grenades, this is going to show some very extra love to that, so you can get more of that healing that you might need for this build's survivability. For our artifact, we're going to look at the stuff that really helps this build, so let's start with Kindling Trigger. Radiant causes solar weapons to apply scorch to unscorched enemies. Super helpful to spread scorch and put targets closer to potential ignitions. Flint Striker, rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon defeats give radiant. Very helpful to potentially start our radiant chain or to keep it going with our knives. Heart of the Flame, casting your solar super grants nearby allies radiant and increases the damage of your super for each nearby ally. Very helpful for teams to get radiant and to help your super damage. I used this with Nighthawk in the dungeon, and it was crazy seeing the damage numbers go to like almost 900,000, which is really nice. I will have a Nighthawk build before the end of the season because Nighthawk is one of my favorite solar hunter exotics. We're also going to take Revitalizing Blast, causing damage with a solar ability, weakens champions and bosses for a short duration. This will be nice so we can add a debuff without needing a void subclass. This is a big change from what it used to be, where stunning a champion would cause them ignite. That was super nice. I remember clearing whole rooms with this, but this is also a very good way to bring this back without making it super broken. Finally, we're going to take Rays of Precision. While Radiant, solar weapon final blows cause combatants to ignite. I don't have this yet, but I feel like it's going to be very good, as we're going to be able to cause ignitions constantly just from getting those precision defeats. For stats, I recommend strength and resilience to be your main focus for cooldown and resistance, with your mobility also being somewhere in the 50s so you can get your dodge back faster as well. Overall, this build is really fun, and it is just honestly a really good build to use. It's the only build I've made so far this season, but it's been really good. The only problem I have with this build in particular is that the survivability of this build, even with restoration and all that other stuff, is not really that great for the higher end activities, at least for me. I struggle a lot with solar survivability, even though it has like the most survivability out of all 3 classes. I struggle very hard with solar class survivability, and I don't know why. Could just be playing it wrong, whatever, but that is my biggest gripe about this particular build, is even with all the survivability that we have given it, it is still very easy to die. Even with, all the restoration, etc., all that stuff. But overall, though, it is a very good build to use in like Nightfalls. I ran it through the coil, I ran it through the Dragon's Layers. It is still a very good build. Just keep in mind that you're probably going to die a lot, at least until you get used to the gameplay loop of it. So with that, that is the end of our video. I apologize if this video still sounds a little iffy when it comes to audio. I'm still trying to figure that out. I went on vacation. Hopefully that the software I use would get an update. It didn't, so we're just going to keep trucking through and make small adjustments as we go. So like, comment, and subscribe if you want to keep seeing more, and I'll see you guys in the next video.